Hi everyone, this is your reading for the week of October 30th through November 5th. I hope all of you had a good week last week and that you made a lot of progress in your own journey, especially with this integration process that we've all been going through. I know it can be intense and overwhelming, so congratulations on getting this far. Let's just keep trucking along. And this week we are continuing to build on that theme of integration, but the focus has shifted. So the last couple of weeks, we've been really focused in on the integration process itself, pulling all the aspects of ourselves back to center so we can feel more whole, and so that we can see everything more clearly and remember our gifts and kind of get a better idea of what it is that we can do, that we have an aptitude for, that we want to do, what we want our future to look like. That's what we've been focusing in on the last couple of weeks. But now that we've really pulled ourselves back together in a lot of ways, and we're remembering things, and we're really reviewing our lives and our past lives too in some cases, now that that's happening, what we're getting is that there are some things that are maybe coming up that have triggered us in this remembering process, whether it's from a past lifetime, whether it's from this lifetime, whether it's a circumstance that we're dealing with in our present day life that's causing us some heartache or some headaches. And what we're focusing on this week is that we are starting to deal with things more externally, in a sense. There's things that we're processing internally so that we can take action in our external environment, if that makes sense. So I'm going to let the cards speak for themselves for the most part today. And the interesting thing is that all of the cards that I pulled from all of the decks, they're really mirroring all the same theme. So a lot of times when I do these card pulls, we may have like a card or two that crosses over with another deck, but today all of the decks were giving a very similar message. So obviously this is a very strong theme for us this week that we need to be mindful of. And the biggest things that I'm seeing are forgiveness and leadership and bringing justice into situations so that everybody's in a good spot moving forward. Because now that we've all been integrating, now it's time for us to really move forward. And in some cases that means setting people free. Some cases that means that we're having to be in better cooperation with people so that we can collaborate with them. So the things that are coming up for us this week internally are going to allow us to start making real changes in our world. All right, so we're going to start with the Kuan Yin cards, and the first one that we get is Sweeping Sister Willow. And this is the first card that came out of all the cards, and it is all about forgiveness, which is going to be a huge theme this week. So some of you may have been feeling triggered by maybe things that you remembered or things that are happening now in your life that maybe you were complacent about before, that you can't be complacent about. Because as you've been going through this integration process, you're really pulling everything together, and that's shifting you a lot. It's changing a lot about how you perceive the world, because as you become more whole and grounded and centered, that really changes a whole lot about you. It's not so much that you are becoming a different person, it's that you are becoming more of who you actually are. And so our lives need to start mirroring that. It's going to be very uncomfortable for us to try to stay in one place. And we've been getting cards for a while pushing us to move forward, but this isn't going to be very easy to move forward if we're still holding on to any unforgiveness. And that's unforgiveness toward other people, it's unforgiveness toward ourselves. And so for us to move forward this week, what we're really being pushed to do is anything that's triggering us, we need to take a closer look at it and understand where that's coming from, and to forgive anybody that's involved in any situation. We need to remember that everything that happens is part of our journey, and it's something that we need to appreciate and value for the lesson that's in it. No matter how challenging it is, no matter how heartbreaking it can be, no matter how much we feel maybe we were in the wrong or somebody else was in the wrong, nobody can move forward if we're stuck in unforgiveness. It's just not going to happen. So we really need to focus on this. And this card came up quite a while ago, a couple of months ago, but it's coming back up now because we have integrated more now. And so things that that were buried, that were repressed, are coming up for us to deal with. Because there are areas where we've been holding on to grudges, or we've been holding on to guilt or shame, and now that we're remembering those things, we're being triggered in those things again. It's bringing it up so that we can really forgive and let go. And the next card that we get is the Bamboo Moon. And this card is kind of playing off of the last one. This card is all about how everything happens in divine timing. So if there is a delay or an obstacle that's coming up, we have a tendency to get frustrated, especially now that we've been integrated and we feel really motivated to move forward. If we're running into these roadblocks or there's all of these delays, it can be really unnerving because we're like, but I'm ready to move forward. But that card is letting us know that no, things happen in divine timing. Things happen at the time they're supposed to happen. And what's blocking us is that we're still holding on to those grudges. We're still holding on to guilt and shame. And so we have a tendency as people to look at our external environment and think that there's something wrong outside of us. And there is, but that's always a mirror of what's going on within us. If you are hitting a roadblock or you're finding your path delayed, it's because there's still something that needs to be healed within before you can move forward. Because if you try to move forward without healing whatever that is, in some ways it's always going to be holding you back, and that pattern is going to keep repeating. You have to heal before you can move forward. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck in those same karmic patterns. So don't get frustrated about the obstacles going on around you. Turn that focus inward and look at what you need to forgive and let go of, either toward yourself or toward somebody else, or toward a situation. Because sometimes we just end up in really bad situations, and it's not that anybody's at fault, but we can hold a grudge toward a situation or a circumstance. We can think of ourselves as being victims of circumstance, and that keeps us stuck too. We need to be able to release all victim consciousness so that we can actually take those steps moving forward. So if you are feeling blocked, it's not because there's something in the external environment that's blocking you. It's because there's something that needs to be healed within, so that we can transmute that energy and turn it into something positive and productive that will manifest in our outer world. All right. And the next card that we get is Reveal the Peacock Beauty. All right. So once we can forgive, we can let go of these grudges, we can let go of the fear and the guilt and the shame. What we're able to do at that point is to really shine our light. With this integration process, even though we've had these triggers coming up, we're also getting a strong memory of all of the good things about us, all of our gifts, all of our abilities, all of our strengths. We're starting to remember our power. But humans have this capacity to get fixated on the negative. So you could have a million things that are amazing that you see about yourself or about your life, but if there's something that's not quite right, humans have this habit, I guess, of getting stuck in that one thing that's not working right. And that's blocking us from moving forward too. And that does tie into the unforgiveness too, because we're getting fixated on that one thing, but we're not doing anything productive about it when we just get fixated on it. When we're holding on to grudges, when we're holding on to unforgiveness, resentment, bitterness, fear, guilt, shame, all of those things, we're holding on to it so tightly, and that prevents us from even looking at all of the positives about ourselves and about other people and about our lives in general. So in order for us to start shining our light and be productive and creative and get these manifestations going, we've got to really heal and let go of anything that is still holding us back. I know that keeps coming up and coming up and coming up, but it's because we have a tendency as people to hold on to things. So we've got to stop holding on to the things that no longer serve us. Even if you feel like you've been letting go of everything, obviously we've still got some digging to do. If you get triggered by anything, there's a reason for it. So if you've been having some situation come up in your life where you feel stuck or triggered or frustrated or angry or hurt, that that tells you that there's something to be healed within. Because if you are really centered within yourself and you feel very calm and confident and empowered and strong within yourself, you're not going to be triggered by external circumstances, because you're going to know, okay, I got this. It's annoying, it's not pleasant to deal with, but I got this, I can do this. So we need to let go of things that aren't serving us anymore, especially if it has to do with us not being able to forgive ourselves or somebody else or a situation that we have been in or are in currently, so that we can shine our light, so that that divine timing kicks in and we can start manifesting everything that we're wanting to manifest. It's not so much that the divine is holding us back. We hold ourselves back. What the divine does is step in and try to help us see how we're sabotaging ourselves so that we can move forward. So that divine timing is not even really dependent on, you know, beings that are higher than us or better than us or anything like that. The divine timing is really reliant on us and how much work we're willing to do and what we're willing to let go of, and the effort that we're willing to put into moving forward. That divine timing is dependent on us. Divine beings, those higher powers, support us in that, but we're the ones responsible for that divine timing. All right? Okay, so the next card that we get, moving to the tarot cards, is Justice. This card is really telling us that it's tying into that forgiveness card, because it's telling us that there is a situation that needs a just conclusion. We need to finally come to a resolution. We've been stuck, because the next card that we have is the Hangman reversed. So when the Hangman is upright, that's taking a break and not doing anything. You're trying to get new perspective. But when it's reversed, that's telling us that in this situation anyway, it's telling us that we've gotten that clarity that we need. We can see the situation clearly now. So what's required of us is to take action to bring justice into the situation. We have the ability to do that by being honest, by being empowered, by living in our integrity, by expressing our truth, and by working with people in a collaborative effort to bring justice and resolution into a situation. We are seeing things more clearly now. We've been, for a long time, taking that step back and trying to get a new perspective on things which now we have, and it's time for us to take action to resolve anything that's been holding us back, especially in terms of our relationships with other people. And the next card that we get is the World card, and that is telling us that we are really moving toward that completion. So if there's been karmic relationships that you've been stuck in and haven't felt like you've been able to move forward, this process of forgiveness and moving into our power, expressing our truths, working with people cooperatively, bringing justice into the situation, that's going to free us from any karmic attachments that have been keeping us stuck. We are moving into that completion. We've been working to try to let go of things, but first, in order to let go of things, we had to recognize what it was we had to let go of. We see that very clearly now, and it's time for us to move into a more active state, be balanced, be objective, be compassionate, and do what needs to be done. All right, and then moving into the medicine cards, the first card that we get is Black Panther, and this guy shows up a lot. He's been showing up for quite a while. And again, this card is all about the void. It's walking into the darkness, not really knowing what's going to happen or who you're going to be on the other side of things when you do get back into the light, and who's going to be with you and who's not, what you're going to lose, what you're going to gain. There is a huge risk that you take when you walk into that void, but we've been so stagnant for so long. We've been stuck in the same place for so long. We're getting pushed again to keep taking risks, to keep taking those leaps of faith, because that void is where we create and where we manifest. There's nothing there. It's a blank slate for us to work with. So as terrifying as it can be to walk into that darkness, it's vitally important that we do, because we won't be able to manifest what we're looking for or we're wanting otherwise. We need that blank space for us to really create. We're not trying to build on top of what was broken. We're starting completely over, ground zero, rebuilding from scratch with these manifestations. Like I was talking about last week, this is a culmination lifetime. So now that we've been integrating everything and we're recognizing that culmination, it's really time for an entirely new era in our existence. We can't create that new era if we are afraid to walk into that blank space where we have room to manifest. The next card that we get is Blue Heron reversed. This card is about self-reflection. So when it's upright, Blue Heron is talking about going within and being able to see yourself in that mirror and to recognize who you are and to see yourself clearly and be balanced in that. But when Blue Heron is reversed, there is a huge propensity to look inside of ourselves and be like, ugh, I don't like what I see. Getting fixated on that one thing or that couple of things that isn't quite right instead of seeing all the good that there is. So that's tying into that forgiveness card. It's really important for us this week as we're going within to figure out what actions we need to take. It's really important for us not to beat up on ourselves or to hate on ourselves or anything like that. We need to be able to keep a balanced view of who we actually are and not get fixated on these tiny little things, even if they seem like they're huge, because we turn things into this big blow up when we don't need to. It's not always pleasant to deal with situations. It's not always happy to have those uncomfortable conversations or to end things with people or to let go of the things that have just been a part of your life for so long. But we need to in order to move forward. And what Blue Heron is really telling us is that we need to be able to keep a balanced perspective of ourselves, the people around us, and our lives. And when we're going within, we've got to be able to forgive and let go completely of any guilt or shame or any of that that's causing us to have a warped perception of ourselves. There's so much good in all of us. We need to focus on that. And yeah, we do have to deal with the things that aren't pleasant, the things that we have done that weren't spectacular, that were painful for ourselves or other people, that caused more drama or trouble than we meant for them to. But we can't get stuck in that sneaky hate spiral of despising ourselves and beating ourselves up, because that's not progress. It's not moving forward. So this week, really, again, focus on the forgiveness aspect and having compassion with yourself and with others. That's the only way we're going to be able to move forward. You're not going to be able to take everybody with you that you've got in your life right now, but you don't need to. That's not the point. The point is that we're moving forward, and everybody needs to be able to be free to move forward in the direction that they're meant to go in. So we have to end these karmic cycles and these karmic relationships that they're due for completion. All the terms of the contract have been completed. Now we've got to let go of the fear of moving forward. And we have to let go of any warped perceptions that we have, especially as they pertain to our own nature, because we can't shine our light, we can't be as creative and productive, and we can't master manifestation if we don't focus on that self-mastery first. And that self-mastery includes having that balanced perspective where we can see ourselves clearly but see ourselves with compassion and make our choices and judgments accordingly. The next card that we get is Mountain Lion. All right, Mountain Lion is all about leadership. Not an easy spot to be in, but as we're going through this integration process and we're starting to take these actions, it's important for us, especially as more awakened individuals, it's important for us to lead by example. Be in your integrity, be in your power, be honest, be compassionate, don't engage in arguments, anything like that. The point is for us to move forward, not create more karmic crap that we have to deal with. So set the example, be firm, but be compassionate, lead by example in all of these situations in your life. Be stable, be grounded, be mature in the way that you deal with these things, because you really are setting the example for other people. Like when you get into an argument with somebody, right? It's really hard for just one person to be arguing. So if you're not engaging and you're being the more mature person in that situation, sooner or later that other person doesn't have a whole lot of other choice but to be reasonable or to just completely walk away. Either way, you're able to complete that karma and cut those ties and move forward, because we can't control other people. But when we've learned everything that we need to from a situation, what we can do is cut those cords of attachment. And even if the other person doesn't want to deal with it and they don't want to face themselves, that's not our problem. All right, we would love for them to. We don't want people to stay stuck in unforgiveness and bitterness and all of that, but we can't control another person's actions. All we have control over, if you want to call it that, is our response to situations. So lead by example, because that's either going to create a very positive resolution for both parties involved, or at least what it's going to do is allow you to finish with your karmic side of things. All of your terms of the contract will have been completed, and you can walk away. You can cut those cords and step away from it. Even if the other person continues to hold on to any bitterness, that's not on you, that is on them. So be a leader in this, because even people who aren't involved in that conflict are going to be learning from you. As you integrate more into yourself and you start shining your light and helping the world, the best way to lead is by example. People are going to be looking to you for how to deal with situations. So set a good example. And that helps you as well to see yourself more clearly and to be able to forgive yourself for things, because we can't change what we did in the past, but we can shift the way that we view things and respond to things now and moving into the future. So set the example for yourself too this week, okay? And then what we really need to be careful of this week, we've got Crow reversed and Owl upright. Crow is all about universal law, not the laws of man, not the morality of society or anything like that. We're talking about universal law, cause and effect, karma, things like that, law of attractions, those sorts of things, change, everything changes. These are universal laws, all right? They're not associated necessarily with the laws of man or society or civilization. And what can happen in all of this process, especially if we're not able to forgive, we get fixated on what we should do according to society, or what other people should be doing according to these societal rules. Well, in this situation, it's not as applicable. If we're wanting to actually deal with this karma and end these cycles, we have to think in terms of universal law. And we can't hold on to these ideas of what we should or shouldn't do based on what society says is okay and is not okay. True justice is coming from our acknowledgement and us working with those universal principles and laws to bring ultimate justice into the situation on that larger level, because we're not just dealing with situations that only are affecting us now. We're dealing with, in a lot of cases, karmic relationships and patterns and cycles that we've repeated from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. It's time to put an end to that, and we can't do that by following the laws of man. We have to do that by following universal law. And so with Crow being reversed, there is this aspect of us getting stuck in that ego and that shadow, and being stuck in the way things should be based on what we've been programmed to believe they should be. And Owl is about deception. So with Crow showing up reverse next to Owl, what this is warning us is that we have the propensity this week, if we can't forgive especially, we have the propensity to deceive ourselves into thinking that the actions that we're taking are the wrong actions, when if you're following your intuition and you're really following your heart, and you're able to be balanced in the way that you're viewing everything and responding to it, and you're able to be mature about it, don't allow other people to tell you what you should or shouldn't do, especially if it has to do with social laws and rules. You know, it's really important for us to trust ourselves and not get caught up in that deception of, well, I can't step away from this person because I shouldn't, or, well, I can't really say this to this person because that's not very nice, or I shouldn't do this because it's a taboo by society's rules. This is not about the rules of civilization. This is about completing karmic patterns and cycles and relationships that we've had ongoing for lifetimes. And we've been, for lifetimes, trying to play it by society's rules, and it hasn't been working. It's time for us to let go of that and really focus in on that universal law and try to resolve situations and create justice from that spot instead. All right, so moving into the Isis cards, the first one that we get is Truths Unveiled. All right, this card is very much about uncomfortable truths. We're becoming very aware now of things that maybe we didn't want to see before, we didn't want to deal with before, or maybe we weren't aware of at all before, but things are being revealed to us now, deeper meanings, bigger themes, as you focus in on that things from a universal perspective, that big picture existential view, where you're considering not just now and what you should do now, but thinking in terms of lifetimes upon lifetimes of patterns that have been repeating themselves. As we integrate, we remember more things. As we remember more things, there's more mysteries revealed. There's more secrets revealed. There's more injustices revealed, where we are getting an entirely different perspective on the situations and relationships in our lives. And that is an uncomfortable process in a lot of situations, especially when you're trying to complete karmic contracts of any kind. But they're things that are necessary for us to look at and be aware of and be mindful of and to work with. Because if we don't, if we continue to ignore the truth, if we continue to ignore these endlessly perpetuating patterns that we've been stuck in, we're going to keep being stuck in those patterns for the rest of this lifetime and probably other lifetimes as well. So we have to face up to the truth of the situation and deal with it. Actually take action to do something about it and resolve these issues that we've been dealing with for a long time. And then we get the Temple of Lapis Lazuli. And this card is about remembering, really remembering who we are in terms of a collective. And this is not about a society or anything like that so much as it is about community. So you're going to be remembering as these truths are unveiled, and you've probably already been getting hints as you've been going through your integration process. You're going to be remembering the community that you're actually part of. And that's not necessarily the community that you've been thinking you're part of for this entire lifetime. That's moving away from these societal rules and laws and thinking of ourselves in collaboration with everybody on a much bigger level. Because these karmic contracts, we forged them with people initially because we knew that there were certain things we wanted to learn, and we made agreements with these individuals to learn from them and with them. And so as we're spanning out and seeing that bigger picture and these truths are being revealed to us, one of those crucial truths that we're going to see that's going to help us move forward is recognizing that sense of community on a larger scale, understanding and remembering what these karmic contracts were originally for, so that you can move into being appreciative of that person and that situation for the lesson it was intended to provide you. Because as we remember that, we begin to be able to move into more compassion for everybody, and we can recognize in that compassion that if a karmic contract has been completed, we're stalling each other out in our progress if we try to keep staying in that contract when it's not serving either of us anymore. We need to be able to look at all the people in our community from that bigger picture view and remember them as our more spiritual community than as just a tangible, physical, this lifetime community, because there are bigger themes going on here that we've been ignoring or that we've not been seeing that are important for us to now recognize, because we need to see where we've been getting stuck and where we've been keeping others stuck by perpetuating these patterns that really, they're due for completion. We're kind of beating a dead horse here. It's time to really end these patterns so that everybody can move forward in their journey. And the next card that we get is Pillar of Light. Alright, this has a lot to do with our energy field. So as we're integrating, we're bringing everything into center again, bringing everything back into wholeness within us. Our energy field is really expanding, and that can cause a lot of instability because we're not used to having an energy field that large. We're not used to being integrated and having all of these memories and maybe some of these emotions that maybe weren't part of your emotional repertoire before, but now they are, because you've integrated these past lifetime aspects of yourself, or you've pulled back fragments of your soul from situations and from people. You're not used to having that anymore, so it can be very unsettling and unnerving, make you feel unstable. So with the Pillar of Light, what we're doing is we're bringing more light into our bodies to heal our chakras, and also we're bringing in more light to anchor ourselves into Mother Earth and to Father Sky. So when you do a Pillar of Light meditation, you imagine an actual pillar of light coming from the center of Earth, from Mother Earth, up through your body and connecting into the sky, Father Sky, and bringing that back down into your body and keeping that cycle going up and down, so that you can fully anchor into both and be completely grounded and centered, which will help you to move through this integration process more smoothly, will help you to forgive, to see situations more clearly, and help you to be mature in dealing with other people as well. So that's really important for us to do, because there's a lot of potential for conflict coming up this week, because we're finally taking action. So if that conflict comes up and you're feeling shaky, really focus on grounding yourself, anchoring yourself into these universal energies better, so that you can work better with the flow and nothing gets stagnated within you, nothing gets stuck in your chakras, everything is moving smoothly so that you can respond to situations accordingly. Alright, what we need to be mindful of and careful about this week, moving into the tarot again, we get the King of Cups reversed. So this is usually when the King of Cups is upright, that's about being very centered in your emotions, and not backing down, but still being compassionate, being very grounded and emotionally stable. So what can happen this week, tying into that forgiveness and the deception card and that need for self-reflection from a balanced place, what can happen with all of that energy of going within and looking at ourselves and starting to take action, that can cause a lot of emotions to be riled up. And especially if we enter into conflict situations with other people, that can make us feel very emotionally unstable, make us question ourselves, doubt our resolve, can make us be aggressive unnecessarily. So the King of Cups reversed is telling us that we have the capacity this week to be very unstable emotionally, and to get all of this stuff roiled up and not know how to deal with it and get overwhelmed. And part of the reason why that's going to happen or could happen anyway, is the Hierophant, which is about structures and like organization, and especially I think of the Hierophant a lot of times in terms of society. So we're talking about societal rules and the way things should be according to the culture that you live in. And because we need to deal with these conflicts, we're starting to take action, we're going within, we're having to deal with all of these things. And we have been so programmed within our culture to view things a certain way. And so being stuck in that idea of, well, it should be this way. I need to figure out how to make this work so that it turns out this way, because this is the way it's supposed to be. And I know this because it's what I've always been told. It's the way that I was programmed, that things are supposed to be this way. And that can really throw us off balance, because again, we need to view things from that universal perspective and spanning lifetimes and understanding karma and where these contracts really stemmed from and originated from, so that we can respond to them appropriately. But if we keep getting stuck in this pattern of, well, I can't do that because it's against the rules. Well, what rules is it against? Is it against universal rule, or is it against the rules of man? And we need to look at those things closely. And I'm not saying that all of the laws of civilization are wrong and we should completely disregard them, but we do need to really take a closer look at how they tie into universal law and see if they actually are worth living by, if they are in accordance with universal law, or if they're not, if they're in conflict with it. Those need to be things that we really think about this week, so that we can move forward in our lives, take the actions and the steps that we need to create the reality that we're trying to create, so that we can really accomplish the things that we're here to accomplish, to really live in our power and in our purpose. And the emphasis this week, we really want to focus on the Empress energy. So the Empress, she's a very strong feminine energy, but this also applies to the feminine energies that are within masculine bodies as well, because the Empress is also, like, in terms of the tarot cards, like the ultimate creator. She is the mother figure. She is very balanced. She understands things very well. She can be compassionate but still be firm. She can create. She can manifest. She can rise. She is very empowered. That's what we need to focus on this week, is being that creator. Create the reality that you're wanting for yourself by being balanced, by seeing things clearly, and by being compassionate in your dealings with yourself and with other people. And finally, we get Fortitude, or most people know of this card as the Strength card. So we need to, in order to get into that Empress energy, we need to be strong within ourselves. You know, you have the answers within you. If you tap in, you know what needs to be done. You know what you need to process. You know what relationships to continue working with, which ones to let go of. You know which circumstances and situations you need to take action to correct, or what situations you need to work with to bring justice and resolution. Maintain your strength in that resolve, in that conviction. You know the answers, so trust yourself and take appropriate action from a place that isn't aggressive. This isn't about being aggressive, or I'm going to say, like, negatively confrontational. We need to actually confront these things, but we need to make sure that we're doing that from a place that's compassionate as well, because if we don't, we create more imbalance, we keep those karmic patterns going. This really needs to be a week that we stand firm within our power and in our resolve, and be compassionate in our dealings with others, set that example, but really move forward. Cut any ties that you need to cut. We've been working towards this. We've been recognizing what needs to go. It's time for us to really, really take action this week and go within. Deal with any unforgiveness that needs to be healed within you, so that you can take action, all right? So that's what we've got for this week, and It's set to be challenging if you let it be challenging. If you can stay balanced, you can stay firm within your resolve, if you can be compassionate and forgiving and look at things from that big picture view, that will help you to feel a lot more secure and safe and stable so that you can bring justice into your life and all of your relationships in a way that's beneficial, ultimately beneficial for everyone involved. Don't make this week more challenging than it has to be. This is very much about being balanced and being firm in your convictions, in your resolve, and being compassionate in the way that you're dealing with other people, but making sure that you don't back down from what you know you need to do and what you know is your truth. Regardless of what anybody says, regardless of what society tells you, don't get caught up in what you should do. Focus more on what is to the highest good for all involved. All right? Have a great week, guys. I will see you again next week. Bye.